We're the new American gangsters, 'cause we speak bold, give no fuck about the haters. They can take freedom from a cold dead hands. We're locked in low for the last days, 'cause we're the new American gangsters, ready to die for this land.
Officers are a little more straight than that.
Ready to die for this land.
I hope y'all enjoyed that little snafu we just had there. That's what happens when Daniel's not here. Peanut and Fred have been murdered, and people are pissed. But this is not an experience unique to the Soviet state of New York. In fact, almost the exact same thing, minus the euthanasia, has occurred in Tennessee not that long ago. And we're going to tell you all about Rebecca the raccoon. Plus, a man allegedly loses his hand during a machete attack in Nashville. We're going to kind of analyze that and find out what that's all about and if there might be more to the story or more going on. There's vote flipping, and that is apparently a user error, according to everyone except the voters and conspiracy theorists. And we're going to break down all the details on that. Nashville's transit plan is under scrutiny. Overton County citizens and aldermen are really upset about the timing of the agenda. The left is taking Liz Cheney's comments out of context, and even local news media is doing it also. And Attorney General Skurmetti says that the state is concerned about illegal immigration, but that it is ultimately the Fed's job to take care of it. And as you can tell, there's an awful lot of drama going on, which means there must be an election around the corner. The election is going to be November 5th. That's Tuesday. If you haven't voted already, please make sure you go and vote. As you can tell at the bottom of the page, we are running a little poll in the comments. Please tell us. Just drop a 1 if you early voted and drop a 2 if you haven't early voted. And hopefully if you're dropping a 2 in there, you plan on early voting here in the near future. So I'm going to leave that up for quite a while tonight. We have a special guest, someone that a lot of you are very excited to hear from, and we are very excited to hear his thoughts on some of these issues facing the state. But before we introduce him, I need to take care of some of the business real quick. So, let's bring it up this way. Here we go. So head on over to midtnkirby.com. There you can take a look at dozens of reasons why I believe every single person should own a Kirby, whether you've got terrible allergies and need something with HEPA filtration, or you have nasty tile that you're just sick of getting on your knees to scrub. You can email the Kirby Man, that's me, directly at the bottom of the page. You can look through all these different slides. It's 100 years made in America, and it does literally everything. Okay. Now, once you've done that, I need you to head on over to A State of Creative there on Facebook. Okay. Now, A State of Creative is, they specialized in refurbished furniture. Gently used and high quality couches, from sleeper sofas to leather sectionals to whatever you need, whether you need leather sofa for the office or a sleeper sofa for the living room. A State of Creative has a wide selection that changes every week, and he delivers. Tell them that the Patriot Punk sent you. You will get $50 off your purchase. That is A State of Creative on Facebook. I'm just going to scroll through here real quick. Look at that leather couch right there. Got some nice accent chairs. It's absolutely beautiful, guys. He posts videos on how he remakes them, shows you everything. Really high quality stuff. That's A State of Creative over on Facebook. And last but not least, head on over to patriotpunknetwork.com. There you can check out previous episodes of the Patriot Punkcast. You can click on the news tab and check out that 17-year-old girl roasting the school board. You can also head on over, check out some of our other videos, national, local stories, election integrity. And if you feel so inclined, please help us keep this show going with a one-time tip. We rely almost exclusively on your support. So please head on over there, help us out. Even if it's just $5, we could really use the the funding. Records are expensive. So, yeah, bear with us tonight as Daniel is not here. We'll give you the reason why here in just a second. But without any further ado, let me introduce our special guest for this evening, and that is candidate for the Tennessee State Senate, John Gentry. How are you, John?
Chase, doing good. How are you tonight?
I am absolutely fantastic. Once we get started, I won't have to do so much of this rearranging of the screen, and hopefully we can get to some of the issues. But tell everyone who may not know who you are, just who you are and where you're running.
Well, my name is John Gentry. I'm running for state senate in Sumner and Trousdale County. So that's Middle Tennessee for some of you guys that are following Chase more broadly in the state. And I'm about reforming corruption in our state government and teaching the people how to participate in government directly, like literally the people sponsoring their own legislation saying, this is what we want government to do or stop doing. This is how we want government to address illegal immigration or school shooters or whatever topic. And we participate that way through rights in our state constitution. And our Constitution hasn't been taught in our schools since the early 1900s, I think. And so we've lost this knowledge of how we participate, how we take back control of our government through these rights. And so that's the heart of my work, really, is putting the voice of the people back in government. I was a certified public accountant for 20 years. I'm an expert in forensic accounting, which is fraud, waste, and abuse. And so that skill set lends well to my campaigning for Senate. And before that, I was a Force Recon Marine for almost 8 years. So that's like a Navy SEAL, but for the Marine Corps. So I'm about as tough as they come. And I don't take guff off of these attorneys and legislators and judges that are just making stuff up as they go along to suit their own purpose. So that's what I'm about, and that's a little bit of who I am.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know you've been on just a few other times before. I know you've been on a massive interview streak here as the election comes to a close, and that's why I thought it would be a great idea to have you on. I have a lot of friends from the Gallatin area, Hendersonville, and hopefully they're watching this show. And I take it Gallatin and Hendersonville are in your.
Yeah, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Portland, Hartsville, Tennessee, out in Trousdale County. That's kind of the perimeter of the district 18 here. And
Gotcha.
so, for those people, if you guys are from Gallatin or Hendersonville, that Portland area, research me if you don't know me yet. There literally has not been a candidate like me since 1776, literally. And I don't say that lightly, because the same kind of corruption that they stood up to in the British Crown is the same kind of corruption that I'm standing up to in our state government. The same grievances that were declared in our Declaration of Independence. So if you haven't heard about me, I encourage you to research me out. Best place is my website to start. We the People, V50.com. So that's We the People, V as in Victor, 50.com.
Well, you mentioned the British Crown, and I really think that this first thing that we're going to talk about is perhaps worse than anything the Brits may have ever done, and I say that hyperbolically. But before I go into this first story, I do want to remind everybody, if you're watching over on YouTube or Facebook, we will be cutting the stream off over there. After this first story, we are going to talk about Peanut first. But please make sure you like this video, share the show with your friends, and go on over to Rumble, where you can find us on the channel Patriot Punk Network. If you have trouble finding the link, it is on my website. So I think I gave it away, but Peanut, okay? Have you seen Peanut and Fred, John?
Yes, sir.
What do you make of Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon?
It's a lot of what I'm fighting, in government. It's just, this ridiculous legislation that is put in place, and it's all to protect special interests, to create financial advantage for special interests is why, tragedies like this happen. My wife she's the first one that brought this story to my attention a couple of days ago. I hadn't heard about it. And she is absolutely furious because my wife does, she rescues every little creature, that comes across our threshold. And she cherishes, little creatures. We just rescued a possum who got separated from its mother. It was too small. And so we, moved that on to a rescue home. But what's happening, with these instances like this is they require people who are going to care for wild, non-domesticated animals, that they have to be licensed, they have to be certified. So it props up, the lobbyists that are coming through from veterinary profession, and it just forces people, to go to these professionals, and that we stop, being able to care for small creatures ourselves for people that are quite capable. And you even see this with pets, Chase, that, what used to be over the counter, to go get simple medication for your cat and your dog, now you have to go to a vet and get a prescription for it when you know what the animal needs. It's easy, for these, but it's always about the money. And then, when you start prosecuting or going after people, then of course you got to hire an attorney, and then the attorneys make money out of it. And that's what all of this is about, is maliciously prosecuting people for these made up laws where there's no victim. So people have to hire attorneys, or, forcing you to go to one profession or another that's licensed by the state government. That is why all of this stuff is happening out there. It's all about money. And tragedies like this are heartbreaking, and it's just, it's a small creature, and you think, oh, it's a squirrel, but these people really care,
Well,
and
so the reason I wanted to bring this up is this kind of reminded me a little bit about the COVID Karens, as I called them during the coronavirus pandemic, who would call and report businesses because one patron was in there without a mask on or something in downtown Nashville. But one of my Facebook friends shared a post that I did not know about. And it actually, a similar situation to Fred and Peanut happened here in the state of Tennessee. And I'm going to bring this article up. This is from Vice News. The government took this man's raccoon away because of a viral video. Mark Coonrippy Brown, he can be seen here in a video. I'm just going to wait. There you go. Dancing with his pet raccoon Gunsmoke, I think it was, or Gun. What was it in here? Gun Show. Okay. Was in there as Gun Show. Back in 2013, I think he had a video with over 1 million views on YouTube. And somebody saw it. Somebody reported him. And the TWRA came and took his raccoon. And a lot, I found this article from Vice News. He ended up doing something similar to what you did when you ran for governor to raise awareness. He actually ran for governor to raise awareness for Rebecca the raccoon. And it kind of reminds people that, we hear about these things happening in the news, some far away land. But as far as I can tell, I think Mr. Brown was actually born in Gallatin, Tennessee. And that would be in your district, would it not?
yeah, I know Coon. He's right up the road from me in Gallatin, and he follows my work on my Facebook page. He and I chat occasionally on here. I know the guy personally.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous. I grew up in Colorado for a couple of years when I was small, and we had a lot of raccoons out there, and we didn't domesticate them. But it's just, it's just ridiculous government intrusion on every little thing that they can get their fingers on. And then when we got big issues, like illegal immigration and
Hmm.
other issues like that, they turn a blind eye. But then you've got, something stupid about somebody that's caring, and for a small creature like that. And, they got big binoculars and they come in and, you look at what happened with this guy with the squirrel. They going through his entire house, going through all of his rooms, all of his cabinets, I guess looking for more squirrels. I don't know. Like this is it's like an FBI raid. Like
Maybe they were looking for the squirrel stash of nuts. Maybe the squirrel was
I don't.
wanted for stealing exotic pistachios, or probably not paying taxes on the nuts that it was.
And this also, Chase, this also gets back to the work that I'm doing, restoring the right of petition. Going back through the early House journals, both on the Library of Congress, with the United States Congress, as well as for the Tennessee General Assembly, individuals like that used to petition the legislature for specific laws to allow them. Like there was one guy, he petitioned the Tennessee General Assembly to allow him to hawk and peddle without a license. There were lots of individuals going and seeking, specific legislation like that. In the Congress, there was a postmaster who had been handling British mail, and so he petitioned the United States Congress to get paid for the service that he had provided, and the Congress actually wrote a bill, passed legislation to pay this postmaster. And so, things like this are perfect examples of what people can do to go to government and say, this is wrong. This needs to stop. Treat me fairly here. This is a unique situation, with Peanut or with Gun Show, the raccoon, and this is a big part of what we've forgotten. And so we just take it, and we don't go to our legislature seeking justice. And the result is incredible injustice, like we see with Peanut the squirrel and Gun Show the raccoon.
That's one of the things that I think government's just gotten too big, just far too big.
Well, too impersonal.
Yes. It's I remember 10 years ago, a couple of my friends, or one of my friends, had to go get his driver's license done, renewed, and we lived in Nashville, so he had to go wait in line. They opened it, I think, 8 or 8:30 in the morning. He got there at 7:15, and when they opened the doors, they told him he should just go home because he was not going to get seen that day. He was too far back in the line. And when you get that overwhelmed because of whatever bureaucracy that you have, you have to be impersonable. Like I feel bad for the women that have to work at that DMV location, because I can't imagine that the customers are very polite after waiting in line for 6 or 7 hours. And there's just so many laws that aren't looked at with common sense. I do.
What a lot of this legislation is for specific individuals. You get some attorney who's miffed about something and goes in and starts lobbying and gets some law passed. Justice Gorsuch recently wrote a book, Too Many Laws. And in that book, he said there are so many laws on the books that every person over the age of 18 has probably broken some criminal law and could be criminally prosecuted. Every single citizen over the age of 18 has probably violated one criminal statute or another under federal or state law. That's crazy, man.
Uh,
And that's
and it's not just that they've probably done that at least once. I've heard that sometimes people do it as much as once a day. No, depending on what it is that not just
you know
federal, but state, local, municipalities, things like that, that the average person commits a crime a day. And when you factor in speeding, using your cell phone, if you check what time it is, you've therefore supported the weight of a device, and it's just overly burdensome.
here in Tennessee, I'm not exaggerating. Every year they pass almost 1,000 new laws. Every single year, almost 1,000 new laws.
I,
These guys, when they're
I
passing
noticed
them,
that. I noticed that back in 2000, and I think it was like 2003, we had 23,000 pages of laws or something like that on the books. And then when I was doing some research, that was when I was doing research for a show. That was 2003, and by like 2021, we had 43,000 pages.
yeah, not all of it is adding a new page. A lot of
Mhm.
this legislation, they add a paragraph or they delete a paragraph and replace the paragraph and they tweak the language. So there's some other way to get you
And
or some other way for somebody to make more money.
and when you think about that, that is just utterly amazing that even if some of the changes are only one or two paragraphs, or if they delete a paragraph, if there's deleting in some of those changes and they have still doubled the number of laws on the books
They
almost
don't they
since.
don't delete and repeal. They delete and replace. So they take out one paragraph, put a new paragraph in, and replace the language. It doesn't get smaller. It always grows, and it is incredible. And this is a big part of why I'm running for office. This many laws that create situations like Peanut the squirrel and Gun Show the raccoon, that it's a death of 1,000 cuts. It is slowly killing our republic, one
Mhm.
slice at a time, 1,000 times every single year. And that's just our state government passing almost 1,000 laws every year. Congress is doing the same thing with federal law and federal criminal code out there. It has gotten out of hand, and it's because all of these, every time that you make a new criminal law, somebody's going to get prosecuted. And if
Mhm.
somebody's getting prosecuted, an attorney is going to have to be appointed, or they're going to have to pay an attorney. And either way, the attorneys are getting paid. And that's what a lot of this legislation is about, is
Isn't
about
it?
the legal profession making more money.
And isn't it funny that almost every law that they want to enforce comes out with some statute where they can claim three times the attorney's fees if you do something wrong, but on any case that involves them violating your rights or not responding to a records request, you have to prove that they went over and above to lie to you and to be malicious before the court will even consider it. And that is assuming that you have an honest court, which David Toulis out of Chattanooga has exposed. A lot of our court systems are anything but honest.
Oh, I don't know if you know about my
Oh,
work.
I know all about you. I was just also I know David.
David
You were with
David
David
told
Toulis,
us.
weren't you?
I mean, I've got an instance where a deputy attorney general, Kleinfelter, second highest attorney in the state, falsified evidence in a courtroom. I proved it to the court. I took the actual document and I took her forged document, or her counterfeit document. I put them side by side. I showed the judge. I was like, she falsified evidence here, Your Honor. what are you going to do? Are you going to sanction her? Are you going to file a complaint with the Board of Professional Responsibility? Nothing. I went to the Tennessee Court of Appeals and said, this attorney falsified evidence. What are you going to do? The Supreme Court of Tennessee, what are you going to do? They're literally above the law. If you, Chase, falsified evidence, you'd go to jail for it.
Oh, and if I falsified evidence in the wrong county, I wouldn't leave that jail because
But all of this, pretty much everything that you see out there, like this injustice with a poor little squirrel and a raccoon, being euthanized, they killed the thing. It all comes down to creating money, for special interests. And the biggest special interest out there is the legal profession. That's who benefits from all of these laws that are getting passed, because it's all about litigating in the courts and generating attorney revenue out there.
Yep.
And it's the biggest problem. And there are very few people. I don't think there's anyone running for office that's exposing this kind of corruption that's going on other than myself. I don't know of a single other candidate.
I have seen people in the past who try, but the system is designed to bury them. And a lot of them, and I saw on your website where there were 20 or 18 Republicans removed from the ballot.
Well, no, there were 14 Republican candidates who were disqualified by the Republican Party. That's how the party controls the ballot. It's how they control who's in office, is they disqualify people they don't like. And that's why I campaign as an independent candidate. They can't do anything to get me off the ballot. My name's going to be on there, and there's nothing they can do about it.
I think that's why they they like the control and they exercise so much control. So before we get off of the Facebook, what I want to do is we give out an award here at the Patriot Punkcast, and that award goes to the citizen that I find on the internet who has the biggest set, we'll say, and I try to give it to somebody who's just an average Joe citizen, because I'm sure as someone who's running for office, you wish we had more citizens that were willing to be vocal and stand up against the establishment, because I'm sure just like those are the best viewers to have, they're probably the best supporters and the best volunteers to have also. So I want to give this week's C.A. Jones Award. Okay, as you can tell there, it's the C.A. Jones Award. We are giving that to a Robert McDaniel out of Livingston, Tennessee, because he has been driving around with this sign in the back of his truck, and it says, "Mayor of Livingston, Lori sucks. And if you voted for her, you were hoodwinked, as this creature is not to be trusted, as she has acted with blatant disregard to her stated candidate tenets while seemingly violating other laws and civil norms with gross abandon. She seems to be truly a demon from hell." Go to Facebook and see it all. Signed, a concerned citizen. There's a QR code there. If you're watching, just screenshot that. I think it goes to his Facebook page. To be fair, I am not saying I believe that, but I do wish that we had more people willing to hold some of these incumbents and establishment people accountable, because I know, you're running against Farrell Hale.
Right.
He is about as incumbent establishment as they come, in my opinion. I won't make you speak ill of your candidate this close to, or of another candidate this close to the election, but I know a lot of people in Sumner County that are not big fans of his. So,
well, he was appointed in 2010, and I'm pretty sure they redistricted District 18 and I think 17 right next to it, but it was Robertson County, and I think that was to keep Senator Kerry Roberts in, and then move the line over, the district over, and let Hale run after he was appointed. So Hale sat out for a couple months. They moved around the districts, and then he ran and won his first primary. And other than me, he had been unopposed for quite a while. I ran against him in 2020. And then this race, I'm pretty sure, because I'm in this race, now they've got a Democrat who qualified 4 days before the deadline. Everybody else went and got their nominating petition, in January or February, first week of February. As soon as you can go in, that's when all the candidates go and get their qualifying petition. This guy waited all the way until April, 4 days before the deadline, and then he entered the race. And then there's another independent on the ballot in my district who's running on LGBT issues, I think. She has zero campaigning. She just did one Facebook post that she's running, on LGBT issues, I think. And that was a single Facebook on her personal Facebook page, and hasn't done a single thing else to campaign for office. And so I think what they're trying to do is muddy the water, because if it was just John Gentry against Farrell Hale, I would absolutely bury him in a landslide this election. But I think they pushed in these other two candidates, to muddy the water and pull votes away from me, to make sure that, good old boy Hale gets another term in there.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like something that the establishment would do. I do want to grab just a couple of questions off of that we've got before we hop off of Facebook. And that is one specifically for you is, how do you find a legislator that will deliver the petition to the clerk?
Oh, you just, so what they're talking about, and I've been teaching this to people, that, if you have a grievance or you have a good idea that you want government to consider, you write up an application, you give it to your district representative, but it doesn't have to be your district representative. When I filed my first one, I was the first person to exercise this right since 1850. And usually, my understanding of history is you just go file it with the clerk of the House, clerk of the Senate yourself. When I filed mine with the Senate, I just went to Chief Clerk Humphreys and said, "Here's my petition of remonstrance, and I want you to file stamp this and mark it as received." And then I went to the House clerk, Tammy Letzler, and she was hiding from me the entire day, literally dodging me in the hallways. I had to spend about 8 hours tracking her down. And when I finally did, I cornered her in the hallway and I said, "I want to file this remonstrance." She says, "You can't, it has to be filed by a member." I was like, "Where does it say that?" She's like, "Well, that's our policy." I was like, "Where's your policy? This hasn't been done in 170 years. Where's your policies?" Well, that's just our policy. So I took out my phone and I said, "Let me get you on camera that you're refusing to accept my remonstrance." She literally ran in her office and slammed the door.
See, you should have said, well, didn't they used to have a policy about the color of your skin? Those people with the pointy hats. Before we get into anything more risque, I'm going to go ahead and drop Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching over there, go over to rumble.com, search Patriot Punk Network or Patriot Punkcast or John Gentry. I've tagged everything I can. You can also find all the links on my website, and at the bottom, all the social media links are there. So we appreciate you watching, and we will see you over on Rumble or on X. So have a good one.